Hey Tekken players, hope you're doing well. So for this video I'm going to talk about King's combos. I want to talk about a bit more nuance and detail and give some hints and tips. So if you haven't already watched it, I have done a B&B combo guide for King, so that includes all the inputs for every single launcher and the different routes going from easy to hard. I'll leave that in the description below, so I'm not going to go into all the details of exactly like which buttons to press and all the rest of it. I'm going to assume you've already watched that video and you know the basic sort of B&B structure for King. Just while I'm promoting, if you want to see the best combo guide, definitive in terms of every single launcher, every single max damage option, all of it, go and watch Armor King's King combo video, which again I'll leave a link to below because that is absolutely comprehensive and it covers absolutely everything. My videos are more based around the sort of the B&B, you know, the standard stuff that you would use in normal matches. Now, no hand cam for this, but as you can see, I've got my display history on, and also I've got my little pad thing there, so you can see my inputs. Now I've also got some legacy display stuff on, so let me just get rid of that, hide that, and indeed hide that. There we go, that should be a bit cleaner. Right, and in terms of what we're going to cover today, I'm going to quickly talk about what I call the air combo, so there where you launch someone into the air. We'll go through the gut punch, the big full crouch down 4-2, talk about the tornado options, and then discuss how to do the max damage ender, talk a little bit about heat and a little bit about sort of floor breaks. So we're going to cover a fair bit, but as I say, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be fairly chilled, and we're just going to go through the sort of the nuances that you don't really see covered in a standard combo guide. So anyway, so let's jump to it. So let's start with the air combo. So these really affect his Hopkick and his CD 1+2. So the ones where, as you can see, he gets, you know, your dummy gets knocked into the air. Now you probably noticed, but this is by far the best ratio in terms of easy to execute and max damage. It's when you go down this route. Okay, you've probably seen that lots and lots of times. So that's 67 damage. That's pretty damn good out of a Hopkick, and it's super easy to do. So the reason why that works well is because standing 4, that's a really good second hit. It does a lot of damage. So that's why that option is really good. However, it's not perfect, and I wouldn't do it in every single event. And I'm going to demonstrate here why with Mr. Brian Furious. So first of all, I just need to get Brian to do a very Brian thing, which is to try to hit me with a snake edge. That's the one. Right. Okay. So let's try. Brian tries to sneaky snake edge us. Okay. And we block it and we punish it with the correct punish, which should be this. Not that. Notice? That time it worked. The first time it didn't work. And there's definitely some weird stuff going on with this back 3. Missed, you see? And the reason why is because if you notice, when Brian lands the snake edge, he's very slightly off axis. You see, he's very slightly towards the foreground there. See? And this is the one downside with using back 3 as your screw. See? If you're even a tiny bit off axis, it will whiff. And as you see there's times where that is by definition, that is the correct punish. Because while standing 1+2 gives more damage than, well, it basically gives more damage than the gut punch. So that, as I say, that is the correct combo route, but as you see there, it whiffs. So that's something you really need to bear in mind when relying too much on this, and it's happened to me lots and lots of times, especially on, bear in mind Brian is a big old boy. If we're talking really small, annoying, you know, waifu hurt boxes like Ling and Rain in particular, the amount of times back 3 whiffs is quite depressing. So in terms of alternatives you could do, which will be a little bit more staple, if you want to continue doing forward 4 as your second hit, then the only other sort of pickup option is to do a dash into into down forward 4-3, which is like this. Then use that as your screw. Now, if you're a bit of a legacy King player, you'll probably find that quite easy. However, as you can see, this is not a combo route I ever did with Tekken 7. I hated doing it because there's something about, on a pad in particular, dash down forward 4-3, I find really, really irritating to do. I can't explain why. Now on big hurt boxes like that, it's not such an issue because it will land. I hardly dash at all then. I think I did a micro dash. But yeah, on smaller ones that will whiff. So I'm just saying that is, again, the textbook, that's kind of what you should do. However, if you find that micro dash into down forward 4-3 just a little bit awkward, there's an alternative which I think is much more reliable, which is to do forward 1+4, which is just as nipples for your second hit like this. Same damage, you'll notice. 64. And again 64, so exactly the same damage. I believe the standing forward gives a little bit more wall carry, but I find Justice Nipples, as I like to call it, I just find a much more reliable pickup, and that's the same for if you do with the while standing 1+2. Whoops. So again, actually, just to kind of show my point, let's just get Brian to try and. I thought I'd recorded that one moment. Yes, I did. Let's try to get Brian to snake edge us again. As you can see, good amount of damage, and I just find that to be far more reliable. But that's something for you to try on. But it's just something I need to make clear, because every King combo guide, including my own, will always say to go down this route because it is super easy to do and gives really good damage. But I just had to get that caveat out there that this back three is so linear, and its hurt box is so high, or sorry, its hitbox is so high, then it will whiff on occasion. So you just need to bear that in mind. Okay, so that's subject one. So let's now talk about his other sort of major launcher, which is the full crouch down forward 2, the gut punch. You know, you'll use this for blocking anything that's a -15 low, and also if anything that goes under a high, you need to do a quick punish there. The while standing 1+2 is slightly slower. This is a lot quicker. Okay, so now luckily for this, actually, compared to original games, the block stun is so long. If you just look at how long he stands there going, "Ugh," then you have a lot of time to you actually do have a lot of time to get your second follow-up hit. Now I'm going to just very quickly change Prime because I need to make a point here. I'm gonna select one of those smaller characters. So let's get Raina because she is particularly slippery. And I'm just going to explain why this is important, because so on paper, again, the max damage second hit, if you want to get the best combo, is to do forward 1+2, the lariat, like this. Okay, so that's the 37 damage. That's pretty juicy, those two hits. However, and again, just to show this does work, I'll just do the combo. Ah, you see then? Now that wouldn't have worked, and this is going to get to my point. So let's see if we can actually land this at least once. See? Okay, so luckily Miss Raina has already helped me. On certain hurt boxes, including Raina, I say she is so slippery, very annoying to deal with. If you don't get that timing right, she's too off axis and it won't land. Okay, that time it worked because I was paying attention. However, if you're a bit slow or the connection's not good and you don't get this first hit correct, see, it'll either whiff like that or you're too off axis, you see, and that's why I do not recommend that as a second hit. Not on, at least not universally. On the larger hurt boxes, it's probably more reliable, but as soon as you go against a waifu, then that suddenly becomes, you know, the fact is that this is a high, so by definition its hitbox is cruising the name, it's high up. So I just don't find it. See, again, she flipped over then, and if you leave it too late, you'll whiff altogether. So I don't recommend that as the pickup, and I just had to draw that out because a lot of people and my combo guy said, you know you can do forward 1+2 after a gut punch. Yes, I do know, but I don't think it's very good. See? You're too off axis on too many opponents, and I like my combos. Don't get me wrong, I like the flashy stuff, and I like to try to score the max damage, but I need them to be reliable. When you're playing, as most of us do, online, you can't be taking chances like that. So if we rule that out as a second, what have we got for alternatives? Well, there's 3 alternatives you can do. They are CD CD3, if I can actually do it. Again, this has its problems. There we go. And luckily, again, Rainer just demonstrated why it's an issue. So you have a crouch dash 3, or it's while standing 3, but you do it from a crouch dash. You can actually do while standing 1+2 and it'll still work. See? Because that block stun is so long, so that gives that, or you can do forward 1. Okay, now notice all of these give the same damage. Okay, so there's no sort of special prizes for going for one or the other. And again, I personally think the best option to go for is forward 1. The reason why I say this is because, as you noticed before, again, if you're timing slightly off or there's lag, if you don't quite get the CD3, it's got a very high hitbox. It won't pick up. See? Again, on the slippery waifu characters like Rainer, like Ling, like all the others, I just don't think that's a reliable pickup. Which is why, personally, I think the better one to go for is forward 1. Because that's got a nice, that hits fairly low to the ground, so it won't whiff. And it's quick. It's quick to input, and it's easy to input. It's just dudum. Because you've already seen me cock this up. How many times have you tried to do a while standing 1+2 and you get this? Again, just because you didn't quite release the pad at the correct time. So you might do this and go, oh. And again, you've messed it up. But see? See? I mean, you know, that's just me just being a bit too slow and not releasing it properly. But you see, it does work. I just don't think it's worth it. And again, it's the same damage. So I would always opt for this. I just think that's super reliable. It's a homing move, so it will hit any axis that will work, and it's quick and it's easy. So I would always do forward 1 as my pickup from the gut punch. But again, these are just my opinions, and I'm just showing you that they do work. So this would be my staple for the gut punch. Okay, that dropped. I just think if you go for that, that will always work. This is just not worth it. See? Off she goes. Off axis already. It's just, yeah. I just had to get it out there because it's one of my bugbears, because so many people say, oh, why don't you do this? And that's why. I think I've made my point. But anyway, so we talked about the various sort of pickup options for both those. I want to talk about screw options in general. So I've already talked about back 3 as a screw. It is good if you're not off axis, but again, it's quite linear. It's nice and easy to do, which is always good. So perhaps that's a good one to go for. Say you've already done quite a long combo, you haven't quite done the tailspin yet, or the tornado flip, and say, I don't know, you've broken a floor or you've done a balcony, just do that. You're never going to drop it, and it'll always land because it's got some good range. So it's probably good for that. Generally speaking, I go for back 1-2, and I want to discuss the other option, which is up forward 3+4, which is this Jaguar run, because that is a tailspin move. And in the combo structures, you'll notice that in effect, kind of for Tekken 7 Legacy Kings, if you're watching this, that kind of fills in for doing what used to be forward 1. So let me give you an example of this. So this would be the kind of the combo you'd go for if you were doing it in, say, the gut punch. You'd do something like this. See? So that, again, that used to be, you would do that with gut punch. You would do pick up, down forward 4-3, 1-2, and then forward 1. That would be sort of the max damage big boy. Now this screw does allow you to do the most damage overall. Again, let me just show you quick examples. Let's do the standard one I was doing before. Okay, so this is my B&B. That's 72. Now let's do it again, but let's do with the Jaguar sprint. Now this is the reason why, again, I don't normally do this as my combo route, which is why I messed it up, but this is actually the reason why I don't like it. You have to do that run and then cancel into the you have to cancel it by holding back. And I don't like it, not gonna lie. And that's why, you see, you have to cancel, then you have to continue the run to get the ender. Because you can do, so just to be clear, you can do a standard ender this way. Oops. Just hold it and just press the normal thing like this, but that's not the max damage because that throw doesn't go as much as the Shining Wizard. So what you have to do, you have to run, hold back to cancel it, and then go back into a running stance. And I find that just so damn awkward. Especially when, and we'll get to this later, especially when you want to do the max damage ender, which includes a run up into a 2-jab. It's just, I find it way too annoying and problematic to do. But again, this is just my opinion. You can disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. But again, I think in the real world, in the pressure of a match, you want stuff to be consistent, and just having to do that awkward cancel, I just hate it. See, I tried then, I was holding back and he wouldn't cancel in time. See? I'm holding back, you can see there I was holding back for 16 frames. Now it's probably because I'm going too early, and like I said, this isn't something I practice in a while because I don't use it. There, see, it held back and I ran out of space. So now, even trying to do the standard, the standard combo into Shining Wizard is hard enough. And as I say, as soon as you start adding 2 jabs in, I just do not think it's worth it. It does also give, just so I've kind of, been fair and objective, it does give the best wall travel because you get more hits before the screw. But I just don't like it. I hate it, in fact. See, I just cannot get him to cancel in time. See, I'm holding back as soon as you see my frames there, landed it, 8 frames of neutral and held it back, and it just wouldn't cancel in time. Again, I'm probably going too early. There, see? I just do not think it's worth it. And and I'm sure you see my combo video, I have done this with the max damage, etc, etc. And I admit I haven't practiced in a long while because it's not a combo route I use, but I think again I've made my point. I just do not think it's worth that. It's such an awkward having to do forward and back inputs in the same combo sequence. So you got to hold back, forward, run, forward, and yeah. So I really don't suggest it. But again, it's just my opinions. And I'm just trying to I'm trying to make my stuff relatable to sort of real world players, okay? And I just think in an online environment, in the pressure of a match, I just think you're making your life too awkward, and it really only gives like 2 more points of damage. Anyway, I just don't think it's worth it. Anyway, right, so I would always say, that's why, just going back to my original point, for almost all of my tornado flips, I do back 1, 2, or I do back 3. I just don't think this is good. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so we're now going to talk about max damage enders, and you may find some cuts appear in this video because I've not warmed up for this, and this is hard. So the absolute max damage ender, because in the way that Tekken 8 works, is because the tornado flip on the back for so long, you can still run up and do a jab, and then you can do the Shining Wizard. And again, let's see how many attempts this takes me. I'll probably do some editing here, but it looks something like this. There we go. Now, those with keen eyes will see how much the total damage has gone up. We'll see how many attempts that took. Normally, I can do this fairly consistently. I have literally just hit the record button with no warm up, so that's why it took me a few efforts. But so that is the absolute max damage. Run up, 2 jab, and then ideally blue spark Shining Wizard. Now, this is hard, I'm not going to lie, and it's entirely up to you whether you think it's worth the extra damage. That gives 77 damage. If we went for a more, if we do the normal ender, that gives us 72. Okay, so 5 more points of damage. Now it's up to you whether you think it's worth it or not, and that's that's a decision you need to make. I like doing it, and I can do it once I have warmed up consistently. Now there's 2 stages to landing this, and we need to talk about them both because they're both very important. The first is knowing how to dash up into 2 jab, and this is important. And again, thank you King for demonstrating why. With King this is problematic, and there's 2 reasons why. Number 1, because he already has a forward 2. If you hold forward 2, you get this. This is a whole different move to this. See, standard 2 jab, forward 2, it's the elbow. Now, just to show you what I mean, for a 1 jab this doesn't matter, because if I do 1 or forward 1, it's the same. So if you were to dash up and do a 1 jab, you've got way more leniency. And the other reason, because as I showed there, again, if you mess this up and you do forwards for a run and then neutral 2, you get this, which is his forward neutral 2. Okay, so that's why the running up to 2 jab is pretty tricky. So the way you need to do this is you need to get into the running stance as soon as possible, okay, which is basically a quick dash into hold like that. Okay, so quick dash into hold, so forward and then hold it, and you'll be in running. This. Then what you need to do is basically once you reach the dummy, in this case Rainer, then you release. Okay, release, hit 2. Okay, so you can sort of practice doing this. Just see, that wasn't right. There we go. So you can practice this without doing the rest of the combo. Just make sure that you're getting forward dashes in, but you're not getting the forward neutral 2, and you're not getting this. See, it is tricky. The way to sort of make sure you don't get forward neutral 2 is to make sure you're in a running stance. See, if you're in a running stance, you won't get this. See, I'm not holding and running enough. And I'm just showing you sort of what to not do, basically. There we are. So the other thing to bear in mind is this, to kind of how long you hold the running stance to then let go to do 2 will depend on the combo, because this version, for example, you hold the running stance for a lot longer, which actually, ironically enough, makes it easier to do, in my opinion, because you've got more time for your brain to realise I'm in a running stance now, I need to let go. Whereas this one, you're much closer up. So you've got hardly any time to run then. So I'd say while practicing, do this one. You see how Ren is much further away, so I've got more time to do the dash. Run up, let go, 2. Okay. So practice that. I say practice on this combo first. Running dash, let go, 2. See? And again, you can see my inputs there. I hope that helps you. So you can see forward dash, then I held the forward for 23 frames, let go, 2. And that should work. 2. Okay. And then once you've got that, try it with this one, because I say this one is harder. Oh, actually, that technically wasn't a combo there. Okay, and it's just a case of getting the timing down, and it's how long you hold the dash for. So, so that's how to do the first part, which, to be honest, is in some ways harder to learn than doing the Shining Wizard. Now, for the next part, I'm going to assume you know how to do a instant Shining Wizard, okay? Like that. It doesn't have to be blue sparks, but you've got to be able to do this at point blank without much of a run up. So if you're doing this, for example, that's not quick enough. You see, although that is technically an ISW, but that's an easy mode one. It has to be quicker. Not like that. See, that would be okay. It wasn't blue sparks, but that was quick enough. Something like that. If you're doing it within that sort of time, then it will work. Because again, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be blue sparks for us to land, but it's got to be fast enough. Can't be this. That's too slow. It's got to be a good way to practice. Do it after a jab string like that. There we go. So I'm going to assume you know how to do that, because this will help. Now, the most important bit of advice I can give here, and it's the thing that catches me out, and it's why it took me a few goes to warm up, is the recovery of this 2 jab is much longer than you think it is. The one jab, the recovery is nothing, okay? The two jab, it's long. Now, let me show you what I mean, because this is quite easy to see, okay? So if we change the player frame window, simple display, okay? So you notice once King stops being blue, that he means he's recovered from the move. Okay, so look at this one jab. So he's hardly blue at all. Oh, and he's done. By doing one jab into giant swing is pretty easy to do, because you've got all day. It's so quick to buffer the throw. Sorry, I'm trying to do blue sparks to show off. Let's stop doing that. So anyway, so the one jab, it's so quick. So you got like, by the time you buffer the throw, it's recovered anyway. So the timing's pretty easy. Look at that compared to the two jab. Okay, watch this. See how much longer he's in that stance for. So two jab has got a much longer recovery on the why he pulls his arm back, and that's why. The key bit of advice I can give to landing this ender, and something you have to get in your head, is you have to do the two jab, then don't do the first forward for much longer than you think. It's really hard, and it takes me a long time because you just want to go and do the shining wizard as fast as possible. But you see, if you do too early, you're still recovering from this. You see, you have to just hold it back just that little while longer than you realise. And again, in the sort of like in the heat of battle, that is hard to do. You've got to force yourself to like wait, then do it. Not like I can do it now. And this is, to be fair, actually, while I'm discussing, this is just a very simple way of practice. Just literally, just do two, and then see if you can do the ISW. See, and I'm not making this up when I say it's hard. There we go. And it's harder than you think. It's just got to hold. You just got to delay it much more than you think. There you go. Again, compared to a one jab, like one jab just works. Like, okay, I am recording, so I'm going to curse, but trust me, one jab into ISW is so much easier to do on paper. There we go. See? Because it recovers so quickly. It's just, you can just do the first forward like whoop straight away, and it will always work. Two, it's much more of a delay. So that would be my greatest bit of advice to sort of trying to land that consistently, is you have to hold off doing the two for doing the ISW after the two jab for so much more than you think. Again, I'll try to demonstrate this in real time, but bear with me. There we go. See? Now the reason why I got that first time compared to all the others is because I warmed up a bit and I practiced going stop, do it. It's so much more important to see, and I'm messing it up again. Oh well, never mind. But my point is, it's so much more important to let that two jab recover before then trying to do the ISW. And you've really got to force yourself to hold back. And it's pretty lenient in terms of you can wait for a lot longer than you think, even if you don't get the blue sparks, and you'll still catch it in mid-flight. Again, I'll try to demonstrate this by sort of really holding back before going for the ISW. Let's see if we can get this to show you what I mean. Okay, I left it too late. Okay, so that was a fair bit of delay on that one. Let's see if I can leave it any longer. Okay, so I left a bit too long there. That's why it whiffed. See, so that one I left it a fair amount of time and it still caught it. So that's just my biggest tip I can give you, is so practice doing the dash up into 2, and then you've really got to leave it longer than you think. Okay, so in other ways to practice this, it's probably actually quite a good idea, and some people would just use this as the max damage staple, and that's fair enough. If you do this with the 1 jab rather than the 2 jab, it gets away both the problems, because number one, you can just dash and hold down forward and it'll work. So you can do this. Oops. See, you notice that I was holding down forward the whole time, and I still get the 1 jab because because it's the same move. He doesn't have this. So that makes that bit easier, and because the recovery is so much quicker. See, that would just work. So that might be, if you want to really try doing this, I would suggest doing that as a training run. See if you can do that consistently. See, I can get that. That's so much more straightforward than the 2. It's amazing how just a little change by pressing 1, not 2, and suddenly the whole thing comes a lot easier. But as you saw in that example, the 2 jab does give a bit more damage than the 1 jab. So dropped it then. So it's kind of up to you in terms of how you want to approach it. Okay, I'm going to keep dropping now. So it's up to you how you want to approach it, but I've shown you both options, and hopefully I've given you some kind of nuances of how to land it consistently. So while we're talking about enders, let's talk about if we want to use heat as our ender. So this would be my suggestion, which would be to run up into 2, as we've already sort of alluded to. Then while you hold down the 2, you can then buffer. You can just keep holding down 2, press 3, you see, and you get that. So you notice that, watch my pad and my command history, holding down 2, just keep it held down, hold it down for 8 years, now press 3, and it just works. And that's much better than trying to do this. See, where you do 1, where you press the 2 button first, then you press 1 plus 2 separately. Now I can do that now, but so often in the heat of the moment you'll mess it up and you'll look like an idiot because you'll get this instead because you didn't press both at the same time. So anyway, this is what this looks like. Okay, so that gives you like the extra spike, and you're now in heat. So in terms of what you want to do with that, well, depending on where the wall is, it gives you a nice little opportunity to put your opponent on the wall. I think this is in the right position. We'll just try it. See, now they're on the wall because I got a little bit of extra carry because I got that post bound. Or you can just finish the combo normally. This is good for open field, which would be just do the Shining Wizard. Oops. Oh, I should mention again with this one. It's a case of make sure you delay it because you got to let this fully recover before you then do the Shining Wizard. So that's my tip there. Okay, I'm being an idiot. There we go. And I should mention as well, this is the reason why I'm using Reina. She's got the most annoying hurt box of all the characters. I reckon she doesn't have Ling's AOP stance, but I think just in general hurt boxes, she's just so sort of annoying to pick up. Anyway, so that's what you can do in terms of your options. If you want to get the wall, 2 heat burst, then any of his wall carry options will work depending on where it is. You can do this, which you saw before. If they're a bit further away, you can do that. If you do that, you do have to dash up a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. If you do it just open field, if we just do this. Oh, it did land that time. Okay, King's just trolling me. But yeah, so maybe you don't have to dash up. In my experience, I've had that whip quite a few times. But anyway, King's just being king today. So that's kind of like you, and then you've got heat like already engaged. Now, in terms of if you just wanted to kind of land the full heat combo, This is the kind of the standard one to go for. Let's pretend, for the sake of argument, because I know a wall carry option will give more. Let's say, for the sake of argument, there's no wall involved here, so it's open field. So you do that, and that's kind of like, that's forward 2+3 to give you the kind of like the post heat dash sort of spike. However, and I'm almost certainly not going to be able to demonstrate this because this is really, really hard, but I'm going to at least attempt it, so I have told you about it. The absolute max damage is to actually post after this heat dash, okay, you know, at the end of the combo. If you time it correctly, you can do the while running 3+4. Now it's got to be the while running, but it's got to be that version, because this version, as you see, nope, this version is too high. That one hits lower, but it is really, really hard to do. But that will give you like that will give you a cross up, and you get like a ridiculous amount of damage out of it. So just so I can say I've tried, and so I can probably show you how hard it is. Let me have a few attempts, see if I can land this, okay? Just from a normal heat combo. Okay, see, not enough there. That got a standard one. Let's try again. Okay, that was not quick enough. So I'm just making the point that if you can land this does give the max. I think it gives. You'll have to. I'll put a notation up so editor page master pay attention. I believe that gives 82. It's 80 something. I'll correct myself later if I've got that wrong. But that gives basically the max damage from heat burst with no walls. But as it's so hard. When I did it on the combo video, I had to use my hitbox because I can't do it on pad quick enough. I just can't get the exploder in on time. But it does give the max. And I would say I have mentioned it now, so you know. But only do that if you're really, really confident with your abilities. If not, do the 2+4. But as I've sort of shown you, it doesn't really give that much damage anyway. So. It's one of those things. I don't think King's heat potential really goes down to his combos. I think his heat tools in general, his general heat tools are much stronger. Things like this. If you can actually land it and not be an idiot. Oh my word. YouTube curse. There we go. So things like that, and just his heat smash is, I think, way better than trying to use heat to extend combos. That's just my opinion, but I think characters like Paul, for example, he gets way more out of it in terms of extending combos into big damage. With King, I don't think it's worth it, but I've just shown you now, just so you're aware. Okay, so just a final coverage, just to do a final thing. So I kind of alluded to it there. Just want to talk about very quickly. Combos where you don't get the tornado flip because you've already done it. So this, for example, you see how she's already flipped, and as I sort of showed you there, similar thing again, she's already flipped, and the same for the low parry. Now in all these cases, 9 times out of 10 it is honestly it's just worth going for the Shining Wizard. It's very, very strange how the scaling works, but just do the Shining Wizard, and that gives, like, most of the time that gives the best damage. Ideally do the blue spark version, so sometimes you kind of have to dash up, pause, and wait to do it. It wasn't quite there. Let's try again. There we go. See, that gives 69 giggity, and it's just 2 hits. Now you can pick up after the post screw, and the best way to pick up is to do CD3, and you can do, let's kind of give a rough example. You can do something like this. That wasn't the right ender. I want to go for Shining Wizard. But you'll notice it's a lot of work. And you don't really get any extra damage for it. And I'm going to mess it up like an idiot. There we go. See, that gives the same damage as just doing a standard Shining Wizard. I just don't think it's worth it in my opinion. And it's a similar thing for, let's just put heat on permanently. Excuse me. There we go, so we got heat on. So it's the same thing for this. You can do something like that, but it's just, it's just not worth it. You're not getting any more damage really than if you just do this. So again, that is a 66 just by itself. And again, if you get the Blue Spark version, which isn't that difficult to do, I'm going to mess it up now. There we go, Blue Sparks. That gives 70. I mean, that's ridiculous. Honestly, when it comes, and same for the low parry combo. When it comes to these instant screw combos, I would honestly focus more on just sort of learning to do this consistently. Not that, but Blue Sparks, which I'm now going to mess up. There we go. I would honestly focus more on learning to do that, because that will give you, you know, once you're warmed up and you're not needed like me, that's much more reliable to hit than any of the other nonsense I was doing, and it'll give you just the best damage. And the only downside is it doesn't give you any wall travel, which is fair enough, but it does give you good Oki, because once you hit them with this, you have all the normal Oki situations that you get following the Shining Wizard. So again, it's just so I've covered it, but I just think that's the way to go. See, that gave 68. It gave less damage than just doing the Blue Spark, and that was with landing a Blue Spark Shining Wizard. You see, so that kind of illustrates my point quite well. Right. Finally, I just want to talk about floor breaks, because these are quite a big deal with King, because a lot of his stuff does break the floors. Okay, so the long and short of it is, if you're on a floor break stage like this, or the floor blast for that matter, the way the scaling works is you want to break that floor as soon as possible. Okay, you really want to do it ideally before the tornado flip. And now luckily in Tekken 8, thank you Bandai Namco, you can floor break quite easily from the gut punch, because you just do this, you see. And in other games that block stun wasn't long enough to be able to do an ISW. So that's rule number one. From this, it's so easy. See, that was nowhere near a Shining Wizard. Look how long I can leave it and then just do a running. See, so much easier to do. Again, if you can do Blue Sparks, that gives more. See, 70 there. But you really don't have to. It's much better to do a really not that. There we go. Do a really easy mode Shining Wizard to break the floor than it is to do this, because this will break the floor, but now all you can do is another Shining Wizard. And the scaling, as you see, it's just much better to go this route. Trying to do Blue Sparks then. Let's do a lazy one. There we go. See? No fancy combo there, and yeah, I've got way more damage because I was able to reach the wall, and because I used more hits in the combo later down. So just again, and it's the same for Hopkick. This is harder because you got less time. It's harder, but it's still easier than it was in previous games. See? And there's also the same for while standing 1+2, but I won't show that. I think I've made my point. So if you can, try to break that floor as soon as possible. Is my advice. If you've broken the floor using either this or this, you use up like 2 hits to get down to the second stage, which means your pickup has to be you have to do this, down forward, 4-3. If you get them with this, you can actually just continue to pick up with something like this. Oh, if I can do it and not be an idiot. See, and that'll work. Because you use less hits to get down there. So if you've broken it using a ground throw, then you can still get another pickup. You can do justice nibbles, you can do forward 1, you can do whatever you want really. Just show you with the old forward 1. See? So you can get an extra hit in there, but as I mentioned, if you try to do it after something like this, see, that'll whiff because you've used up too many hits. So that's just something to bear in mind. It's a nuance, but important to know. So always, if you've done it after a standard launcher rather than a ground throw, just continue with this as you pick up. Oops. Actually, you could still break the floor with this if you do mess it up. And we still haven't used the this is when I do an instant screw like that. Oh, we have used it. Oh, that's right. This counts as a screw move. Okay, so I think that's covered everything. I hope that helps. It's a little bit of a long one, but I think you sometimes need to have this kind of talking headpiece to sort of give you a bit more details and nuances in the combo structure for King, like what's worth doing, what's not worth doing, etc, etc. And I hope that's helped you with getting the harder enders and everything like that. If you have enjoyed it, please drop the video a like, etc, etc. And thanks very much, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.